All right, so I know that the last video that I did, which was on the mate to this boot here, it was kind of cringy for some people because, they said, "Why? What are you doing tearing down such a nice boot?" There is a little backstory to that. The boot was far from perfect. I mean, it was perfectly built, but I got into some barbed wire and it tore it up. So at least the one boot, and I was not happy. But I figured I'd take the opportunity to go ahead and tear it down. One of the reasons I tear these down is just to get a better appreciation for the build quality. And another reason on the other end of the spectrum is that it's eye-opening in the fact that the quality is not what the company says it is. Products promised and products delivered are two entirely different things. So I think that's important for you as a consumer, well, and me for that matter as a consumer, to know exactly what you're buying and what you're purchasing. I think, one of the other creators on here, I'll just refer to this creator as RA, and you're obviously going to know who I'm talking about. I think that creator does a good job in showing, the overall build as it's cut in half, and then you can kind of see how everything's put together. Whereas I deconstruct it piece by piece, and that kind of shows you what each individual piece is and the quality of not only the components, but how those components relate to one another as far as, bonding, gluing, cementing, however you want to phrase that. So you get a better idea as to how the process is done as well. So we're going to go ahead and I'm going to start cutting this apart or tearing it down. I'm just going to leave the video run, and then I'm going to just go back and edit it so you're not watching me tear this down for 45 minutes to an hour. But we'll go ahead and get it done here. Those are some really, really big nails that go into the heel. One more. This thing is glued down pretty darn good. I've got all the nails out, and I'm still having difficulty getting this off. And this is the heel we're talking about here. So now on the from the heel side, or the heel end side, I'm taking the midsole and the slip sole. I'm sorry, not the midsole. I'm taking the slip sole with the outsole off together, so that hopefully we can see the McKay stitch underneath the slip sole. We can see it in the midsole. Alright, so this is what I was doing all this work for here. I really didn't have to take this off, but I wanted to take this off so that I could show you what this McKay stitch, what it looks like when it's completely intact. So this on the outside, this is your stitch down construction. You got 2 rows of stitch down, and then this stitch right here, which is still intact, that's the McKay stitch. And so what the McKay stitch does is, you can see it goes on the inside part of the upper here, and that's where your footbed is. That's where the footbed or insole or whatever you want to call it, where that's located. So this stitch bonds, it's a mechanical bond between the midsole right here and the footbed or insole. And that keeps everything together, and it keeps the insole from, well, it does a couple of things. The main thing it does is it keeps the insole from rolling up. So if you get, especially if you get this in water, if you get this wet lots of times, the water will intrude into the leather. Obviously, leather's porous, it'll soak up the water. It'll eventually delaminate the glue. And then through these holes here that are created by the stitch down construction into the upper, the water will carry with it like dirt, silt, debris, stuff like that, and that'll get in between the midsole and the insole and further delaminate that. And then you can run into an area, especially for people that don't take care of their boots. You need to brush your boots like when you're done. And, at the end of the day, make sure you brush them. Make sure you get the welt really well, because the silt and the sand and the dirt and debris and stuff, it actually acts like a sandpaper, and it will tear apart that stitching there, that thread. So then you'll end up with where the upper will actually separate completely from the insole or the sole. And this McKay stitch here ensures that that's not going to happen. So very durable. It's an added step. I think it's a necessary step, especially when you're spending this kind of money. So you think about it. This boot here in its base, I think is like $700, right in that area. I think it might be like $665 or $670. And, well, nobody else really makes this style of boot, the monkey boot anyway. So let's look at a $600 boot, or $650, $650 boot, which is going to be like your T1, your Commander, or a T2, and it's going to have this McKay stitch. You're paying the same price in a JK and a Nix. Westco's a little bit less, but they don't have as many natural materials as what like the other 3 do. But the one thing that you're getting with this particular build is you are getting that McKay stitch. And there's only one manufacturer out there that's doing it right now that I'm aware of. Now, I could be wrong, and if I'm wrong, let me know. But I think everyone else has stopped it. And the only one that's doing it right now is Frank's. So you might be able to ask for it with one of the other companies, but they ain't going to do it for free. I'll tell you that much. So you really are getting a better value with buying a Frank's boot than you are with buying the other manufacturers, just because of this added step here. And if y'all don't understand it, I've explained this before, they actually have to, so this will be on the last, right? So it'll be on the last, and it's tied up. They've bottomed it, and after they've bottomed it and they've got that step done, now they need to unlace it. They need to take it out of the last. They need to take it over to the McKay stitcher stitch it down, and then bring it back and put it back on the last and get it straight and lace it up and all that stuff again. So it's not just like, you know, they do this before anything else. I mean, there's quite a bit of, you know, labor involved. It's fairly extensive. So keep that in mind. I mean, you're getting this, and it really doesn't cost you any more. And so I think that's why, you know, in my mind anyway, this is a more durable construction, and it's the attention to detail that you're going to get with, you know, Frank's that you won't get with some of the other manufacturers. Not that the other manufacturers are terrible. You know, I know White's makes a very good boot. I don't know about Nick's. I haven't worn them. JK, I mean, they're all over the board. I mean, you can get a good boot or you can get one that's not so good. So, but none of them have this McKay stitch. So that's something to keep in mind. All right.